False narratives upon false narratives for Australia. January 9, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. Dear friends in Australia, the reason that your country is so dry is that military contractors in your own country have been driving the Southern Hemisphere Jet stream south to Antarctica, just as similar villains were driving the Northern Hemisphere Jet stream away from Alaska and Canada this summer. Their object? To create the appearance of melting ice caps when there is no such thing going on in nature, and gin up scientific evidence of global warming, so that they can justify their new taxation scheme of taxing cow farts and every breath you take. To counteract this cause, and their motivation for it, requires you to bring forward complaints from non-domestic populations living in Australia to the United Nations. Under the ENMOD Treaties, they are only allowed to conduct such tests on their own country and on domestic populations. So there is the reason that you are suffering such a drought and high fire risk conditions. And here is the second tattletale: deliberate arson. 183 arsonists arrested for deliberately starting fires across Australia. https://tinyurl.com/aussiebrushfires. So we've not only got the Australian Defence Ministry in on trying to sell global warming and bogus carbon taxes by meddling with the atmospheric water distribution, but we've got firebugs on the ground setting these fires and further causing the problem. I say get your messages to the United Nations ASAP and bring complaints for 1. Violations of the ENMOD treaties resulting in the death and destruction of non-domestic populations, everyone who isn't a government employee and all the animals are non-domestic with respect to the incorporated governments, and 2. Violations of the public trust by the Australia, Inc. And if I were you, Aussies, I'd make sure that all those persons caught setting fires would be very rigorously evaluated for ties to political parties, organizations, and interest groups having a material interest in pushing the idea of human-caused global warming and the collection of carbon taxes. Remember that the enemies of all life on this planet deliberately cause problems so that they can justify oppressive actions to solve the problems they cause. That is, in this example, that they cause the drought by misaligning the flow of the Southern Hemisphere's jet stream and use the warmth and moisture that is diverted to cause unnatural melting in Antarctica, and then, they have some little helpers on the ground set these fires to ensure that there is great public outcry and misery. Then they use the circumstances that they themselves created as the excuse for oppressive carbon taxes. After all, what are the crooks going to do, now that everyone sees that the income taxes and all the other crimes they have committed are invalid? They have to come up with some new excuse to tax everyone, or their own salad days are over. Don't believe that they can and do divert the rain and control the pathways of atmospheric water? Study up on the subject. And then ask yourselves why Australia is suffering a drought, and also why 183 Australians would be crazy enough to deliberately set fires under such conditions? Look deep enough and you will find connections between all or most of those people engaged in these activities, political parties, churches, clubs, some link that puts them all in alignment to commit these heinous crimes for some reason, either for political gain or economic gain or both. Either way, throw the book at the United Nations and at the Australian Defence Ministry and at these arsonists, and make sure that their associates all get the message that you know what they've done, you know how they are doing it, and you have had enough, enough, enough.